Francesca, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here today.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having invited me, and I'm really happy to be here.
So am I. I'm actually really curious about your specialty and your stories. So I can't wait to get into that. But before we get started with all of that, how about we get to know you as the individual first and talk a little bit about your upbringing and where you grew up? So, would you mind sharing with us a fond childhood memory and potentially even just information about where you grew up?
Sure, I will. So I grew up in a very small city, and then I moved with my mother into my hometown, Modena. It's a little bit bigger than the first one, and there I get in contact with the English language for the very first time. I was just four, and for that time we are talking about the end of 80s, so a little bit time back in history. It was really innovative for Italy and for my city as well. And I completely fell in love with language. In fact, I didn't understand anything at all at that time, obviously, but I had a teacher who made us play with role play directly in English, and it was really funny. And I was completely mad by the fact that other people could communicate and understand what they were saying in other languages and in other way than I was used to. I had some confidence issues until university. Then I started studying for to becoming an interpreter. So I was forced to speak English as well. And before that, I was really afraid of my teacher's judgment, my friend's judgment. I was afraid to make any mistake. And so I didn't feel well speaking English, but then I was forced to. And I started even understanding much better because it had passed so many years since the very first time I heard the first English words. And then it started to become easier and even funnier. And almost at the end of my BA in translation studies, I had also some exams in interpreting. I made a holiday in New York, and there I was the one who had to speak with everyone else. So I was with a group of friends, and no one else spoke English. So I was the only one who had to do it. And we had also a little bit issue with one of our friends who didn't feel well and had to go to the doctor. And so I had to translate, to interpret that moment. And it was really emotional because I really understand that I could do it. And before I didn't think I could. And so that was
Wow.
the very first time I really practiced outside the school rooms my knowledge of English, and it was really beautiful. Okay, so it's funny because actually I didn't really know how it meant to work as an interpreter. So I just thought it was cool, and that it could be the highest grade of language knowledge I could reach, and then I could do whatever I wanted with language as well. So my decision was for this reason, and until the last second, I couldn't decide between this and studying medicine. In fact, I love medicine as a subject, and in fact, one of my specialization are in medicine. But at the end, I thought that studying languages wouldn't be so stressful for me as to study medicine. And so this is why I'm here. And I'm really happy to that choice. Completely, even because our teachers were focused on British English. In fact, I still have some issues in understanding Americans. Sometimes I have to train a little bit before speaking with some American. And I didn't imagine how much Spanish as well I could find. In fact, many people spoke at that time, at least Spanish, maybe better than English as well, in some cases. And it was completely different because, we studied things more, not concrete things, not everyday language. And so it was really interesting to find new ways of communicating and of speaking as well. Well, I think I was lucky because, as I said, medicine is a subject I ever liked, and I have lived for many years with a doctor as well. So I heard about medical terms and words all the time. So I was already a little bit familiar with it, and so this was my lucky, definitely, because it was quite complicated to translate for the very first time in real life for something that important as health issues. So this friend of mine was the daughter of another friend. So she was really really young. She was 9 at that time. She had a problem with her ear, and she couldn't come back to Italy with the airplane because of this. And so we had to check and to understand how to move, how to act, and what to do, even because she was really in pain. But in the end, she was lucky to be able to come back with us. She solved her problem in those days, thanks to drugs and medicaments they gave her. And that moment was quite difficult, but I think that in a way it was the best time, the best way to start doing this job, because it tested me. So the first real interpreting service and paid service as well was at the end of my BA. So before starting the master's degree. And it was for a fair here in Italy, in Verona, and it was about stones and marbles and their management. So it wasn't that easy, and something that I really don't like so much. But I was really thrilled to start doing it, that I accepted that service as well, because I wanted to learn, to understand how it worked. And so that was the very first time. And the second one, I think, was just a little bit later in Germany, when I was studying with Erasmus program for another fair in medical tools. And there I discovered another funny thing. That's to say that no, everyone who speaks English is mother tongue. So it's funny to say that right now, but when I was starting out, I imagined that everyone who spoke English had a perfect accent and a perfect skills in grammar. And that's not the case. That was not the case, because there were people from all over the world that spoke English as a second or a foreign language. And they were good because they were trying to communicate. And so they made a lot of efforts. But sometimes it wasn't enough. It was hard to understand, and that's part of our job as well. Well, I was like in a bubble because I was experiencing for the very first time to live alone abroad. I felt like an adult finally. And so it was everything magic. So I have just good memories of that period, including this assignment. And I felt really like I became an adult from one day to another, getting that assignment in Germany while I was living there. And that was really great. Well, everything. So, well, I enjoyed another point of view in teaching, for example. So, classes were organized completely differently. And I had the chance to attend also some courses that in Italy, or at least in my university, didn't exist, such as some strange languages like Urdu, for example. And it was really amazing to see how the word could differ, even if Germany isn't that far away from Italy. So it's about 1,000 kilometers away, but it was completely different. So it was really, really nice. And then also the cultural thing. So there things work, and in Italy sometimes don't. And that was the best thing I noticed, because there, so buses were on time, and everything worked out. So very few problems, exactly the opposite as in Italy. I don't want to talk badly about my country because I love it, but sometimes in management organization, we are not that good. We are, well, like everyone knows, we aren't that organized. Well, I was really naive about that because I thought that it would have been very simple and easy to start out, and having a lot of clients asking for my services. And in reality, it wasn't like that at all. So when I finished university, I wanted my independency like I had in Germany. And I couldn't have a stable work, obviously. I think that no one, when starting out, has a stable work coming in. And so I decided to accept a contract as an employee. And I worked as an employee for 1 year and a half. Just to be able to collect money and to go to live alone with my husband. Right now, he's my husband, and that wasn't the right choice, but at the same time, it taught me a lot. I understood that wasn't my what I wanted to do. So I wanted to manage everything by my own. I wanted to work as interpreter mainly, and then also as translator. And then in that job wasn't only about interpreting and translation. It was a little part, and I had to manage many other things that I didn't like. And well, I think it prepared me for studying as a freelancer. Even if when I started as a freelancer after this experience, I still was very naive. So I thought that I would have done only interpreting assignments and translations and nothing else. I completely disregard marketing and courses and all invoice preparing quote preparing, and everything else. So I wasn't prepared because I had this dream of working like an interpreter and nothing else, but there's much more behind the scene to do. Well, first of all, I think time management, because I spent hours of time scrolling Facebook and the like for fun, because I thought that I owned my time and I could do whatever I want, especially, I don't know, breakfast in a bar, for example. That's absolutely true. But obviously, if your breakfast lasts 3 hours in the morning, you have to wake up at 5 or you have to shorten it. And especially scrolling Facebook, for example, it was useful for me to get noticed and make link with other people, other colleagues, but well, not for 5 hours a day. And so I had to understand even at which time I was more productive. For example, I'm not productive at all before 10 a.m. In the morning. So obviously, if I have to attend a meeting or an interpreting assignment, I can do it. But ideally, so my dream day starts from 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'm really productive in the afternoon, in the late afternoon. So from 4 until 9, 10 in the evening, it's when I do more things in less time. And that was a revolution for me, because I was used and forced to work from early in the morning until 6 in the evening. And I spent all my day outside, so in the office. And the fact I was at home was really good for me. I liked it so much. And I started understanding how I could figure out everything and how I could organize every single task. For example, translation, where you have to stay focused, wasn't that good for me in the morning, but it was better to move it in the afternoon. And this was, I think, the first obstacle I met. Maybe nowadays we are talking about it more, but in 2012, 2013, there was the myth of waking up early in the morning. And if you don't, you feel like a loser. But it's not true, because we aren't all the same. So there are many people can wake up early in the morning and be very productive, and then in the afternoon they can't do anything because they are done. For me, it's exactly the opposite. So I could continue working till late at night, even 1 or 2, and I don't feel the tiredness. Otherwise, if I wake up very early and start at 7 or 6, I won't do anything, because I cannot concentrate. I'm not. I didn't have enough rest for my body and for my mind. And I think that normalize that, accepting that, and also speaking with other people who were like me helped me a lot. I learned that I had to recognize the signs when talking with a client. And so to recognize what they expect me to do. And also the fact that they have clear in mind what is my role, that I'm not a dictionary, for example. And well, I think that are the most important lessons I thought. I was so afraid to lose that client, that first client, that I agreed on that fee, but it wasn't absolutely enough. It was too little. when you reach that point, when you are able to say no, um, I think you are an adult interpreter, and so it's great for you. It takes time, but it's really great because it's a kind of it helps you to be a better interpreter, a better professional as well. So if something is not I don't know, in a field that you don't know very much or you don't like very much, it's better to say no. Otherwise, it's more easy to do a bad job. Well, actually, I think I was lucky because I started doing everything immediately as I started out, especially working on my personal branding and my logo. So it was quite the first thing I did. I invested all my money on it and on a logo, personal identity, personal branding, and also website. It was a mistake on one side because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I had this idea in mind. I wanted to work as interpreter and translator, but I put on too much things. So too many different fields. I took those I felt more familiar with. But there were really too much things. And I really didn't know who were my potential clients. So I talked to anyone. And this is rule number one, you never have to talk to anyone. So I made this completely wrong. But on the other side, it was my my luck, sorry, because in the end, I started receiving clients. So clients were coming through my website. I worked a lot on SEO, sorry, yes, SEO. And it was definitely the best choice I ever made because actually I could reach people not only in Italy, not only near my hometown, but also from abroad. And well, I don't recommend everyone to start like this because I think that a little bit of time when you start out to understand what you want to do, what you like to do. Because, for example, I know a colleague that studied to become an interpreter, started working as an interpreter, had a lot of connection, a lot of clients, but she, in the end, didn't like it. She discovered she didn't like it. It was too stressful for her, and she stopped doing this, and she changed completely. So it's very important because you need to invest a lot of money. And we are talking for Italy at least of different €1,000. So it's not something you can do in one day or two. And a lot of time as well, because obviously you need to think, to prepare content, to prepare your text for your website, to think on which services you want to offer, which fields you want to cover. So really many different things. So I would suggest to start and to wait 1 or 2 years before investing in a personal branding, a logo, a website, and everything else what comes. And in the meanwhile, studying also how it works, because obviously what I did in 2013 is completely different from what I would do right now and from what I do right now. So things are changing constantly, and we need to be updated to know how to market ourselves. We have to study to make some tests, for example. For example, if we like to use Instagram, but no one client is coming from there, it's better to invest our time and our money in some other, in something else. I don't know, website or another social media or something different. Well, actually, the wedding interpreting service could be quite different. So I could be this service during the ceremony or even before the ceremony for the future spouses to get in contact to the different offices in Italy or with different suppliers. Or on the other side, I can assist Italian suppliers who have to talk with foreign customers. So it's something that could have many different phases. Or I can also be present during the party. So after the ceremony, especially if there are members of the family or even friends that come from all over the world, and if they want to communicate, especially if someone wants to do a speech, for example, so to allow everyone to understand. But first of all, in Italy, it's mandatory to have an interpreter in case at least one of the two spouses is not Italian. Because obviously we see marriage and weddings like something really romantic, but in fact they are a contract. So it's something legal. And so our responsibility is really high. It's not something that everyone could do.
Wow.
And well, we have also a bad side of this history, because in Italy, many offices tell you that you need an interpreter, but it could be not professional. It means that someone who can speak both languages, so Italian and, for example, English, could be okay. But it's not exactly the same. So maybe people spend thousands of euros in flowers that are beautiful, and I did at my wedding, but it's worth investing also in a professional interpreter. Otherwise, the wedding could be void. So it could be not legal and not legal in the country of origin. And that's a big mess because you have to start everything from the beginning. And people never think about that. And the other side of this job is the fact that usually foreign people who want to come to Italy to celebrate their love don't think about how much time it takes in Italy to have documents, and how much in advance they have to book venues, also location for the parties, accommodation for them and for their hosts, and guests, and everything else. And I was telling this a few days ago on my Instagram stories that I was contacted by a couple coming from the US who wanted to get married in Capri, a small island in front of Naples. So they had to take the airplane until Naples, and then the ferry from Naples to this island. And they had everything organized per second. So they had to come, then take the ferry. They had the meeting, I think, 2 hours after they came with the plane in this city center to make to sign all the documents. And then in the afternoon, after 2 or 3 more hours, they got married. But I asked them if they were sure they could do everything in this short time, because it's quite impossible. Even because during the summer, we are in high season. And so there's a lot of, every place is very crowded. And also offices close in the afternoon for a longer time. and sometimes never opens again. So it's quite difficult because it's a cultural matter. We are used to that. As I was saying before, the difference with Germany, it's like that. So we know that if we need a document from an office, we have to move in advance of, I don't know, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. It depends, but you never know when you will get it. You have no one guarantees you when you will get it. And another recent couple asked me to assist them with their wedding in Sardinia, but they contacted me 10 days ago, and it's for next week. And I was already busy with another wedding, so I couldn't go there. But if I think about the cost of the airplane for me to get there, and then the accommodation, it would cost really thousands of euros, first of all. And then they moved really late to have all the documents prepared. So they asked me to do the translation of their documents, but we need to go to the court to make them legalized. And this week, it's everything closed in Italy because on the 15th, it's a holiday, and usually every public office closes in this week and for almost all August. So it's really important to have documents ready in this period. And then I had also to send them to the couple there, and it's impossible. So I was really sorry for that, because if only they contacted me in advance 2 or 3 months ago, I would have told them, but they didn't. And so I don't know if they will be able to get married here. And
no.
Because they invested, I imagine, a lot of money for the travel and the accommodation and everything else. And well, we need to know and understand also this cultural aspect about Italy. It's a beautiful country, and I encourage everyone to come here to get married because it's really beautiful, but to move in advance. I thought about it, but I wasn't convinced. And a friend of mine and a colleague of mine kept telling me it was something on which I should have invested. And I wasn't that sure that it could work because I didn't know the market very well. And I thought that couple was a little bit weird to choose not Italy, but my town, because there are many others that are more famous. I don't know, Venice, Rome, Verona, and many others. But in the end, I discovered there's very many people who come here in Modena and in nearby to get married. And I started, I think, 1 or 2 years later, promoting myself as a wedding interpreter. On my website, there was no page dedicated to interpreting, and I thought it was a sign I needed to take advance of and to start selling this service, telling people I was doing that service. And in fact, I did. And from then, I had many different requests. I think that it's an honor to witness the celebration of love between two people, and also to make their dream come true. That's something that could be seen as something not important, something funny, but actually, I think it's really important, because if something makes you feel good, it's worth. It's definitely worth. And I really like that aspect, and also the fact that as we were saying before, it's something I like, And so it's not like about marbles and stones. It's completely different. And I have experience. I think also that the fact I was a bride could help me understand better. In fact, it happened that sometimes brides and also husbands could have small issues. And if they don't have a wedding planner or maybe parents or even friends, because sometimes they come from very far away, so they are just a small group. They need support even on other things that are different from language issues. And I could help them understanding how they are feeling. And it's really nice, even the fact that they are really grateful. So maybe if you attend a business meeting, the CEO of that company isn't grateful for your help, or at least not always,
Right.
but they really are. And it's quite the same when I do medical interpreting assignments, for example, because there are people who really need my help. And so it's really nice to feel like you helped someone. And in that case, I think it's one of the maximum examples. Well, first of all, I think that it's really important to give a look to what our colleagues do, not just to copycat their strategies, but to understand how the market works, and to understand also what it's good for you. Because if I have a strategy, doesn't mean everyone else has to have really the same, but everyone could find his features and promote him or herself in a different way. And for what concerns the market itself, it's really important to start understanding how it works. And I think that sometimes we are afraid to ask, but we have this wonderful thing that is internet that allows us to find almost everything what we are looking for. And in case we cannot find it, we can contact directly, politely, some colleagues with more experience, even a little more experience, just to have a chat, just to ask our questions. But I think that the best thing is directly to contact someone we think we trust, and to ask our doubts and ask for help. There's nothing bad in asking for help. Every one of us has needed in their history to be helped by someone else. And so just ask. Well, I have a website, obviously, that's punto minus f, just the letter.com. Here I have all my services, and I'm also reorganizing the section dedicated to weddings because, as I was saying before, I want to go deep into sub-niches as well. The Freelance Lab has a website as well, .it, but it's only in Italian, so maybe for foreign listeners isn't understandable. I don't know, but well, if you want to write me, you will find on that website my email address, and I will reply in English or German or French, whatever you want. And well, on Instagram, I'm punto f. So you can contact me there or follow me as you want. I mainly publish content in Italian, so maybe it's not that useful, but well, you can reach me there.